Out of the long turn 13. Now it's time to drain the battery all the way down, and then once you get rid of it, hope that you've got enough to get to the braking zone in turn 14. The active aero shuts, and there's a couple of corners to home.
Yeah, you can see as the active aero closed, also braking very quickly thereafter. You get a little dive in the front of the car, and then they regen power into that battery so quickly that gives them some final deployment in those final two corners.
Now the lap time falling away for Piastri there. Charles Leclerc goes quickest, and 0.6 of a second between Piastri and Leclerc's effort at that stage. Hamilton looked good over one lap, but he's 0.08 in arrears to his teammate. Ferrari's first and third at the moment, both Mercedes on outlaps. They'll get the right of reply, and over the line we go with Lando Norris, and he is ahead of his teammate in P5. If you're in the drop zone, it's time to start attacking the racetrack on new tyres if you've got them.
Yeah, not much time left for them to do so, but I would say, again, I don't doubt Mercedes have a little bit more, but the consistency of the Ferraris, I don't doubt delivering lap time. They seem to be on top of the system. Mercedes have a little bit more, maybe, but the consistency of the Ferrari,
isn't it? I feel like they're closer. I still think Mercedes, when they wind it up on new tyres, are going to put some distance between them and the rest. We'll see that in just a few moments' time. You can see on your left-hand side, Antonelli through the first sector, and Russell's getting there as well, although he's not doing it very quickly on this attempt. Ferrari look much better off. Will they be able to pick off one Mercedes if one of them doesn't nail it in Q3? They've put a bit of gap to themselves and McLaren.
Nico Hülkenberg has a wonderful record of making it through into the top 10 shootout here. He's only missed out once in the last 6 runnings of the Chinese Grand Prix. That's the last year that we ran this race. He only made Q3 once last year. So pick your favourite stat. He's in the mix at the moment with Isaac Hadjar, a 10th up, 2/3 of the way round. Your battery management is absolutely crucial. Have you, with the team, managed to define when you need to recharge? Do you still have enough around the final corner and across the line? He's missed out by 0.02 of a second. Hülkenberg falls at the second hurdle.
There are plenty going much quicker behind him as well, so that drop zone is going to shuffle around. I feel like Hadjar's got to find some pace, and he is.
Antonelli goes top. Isaac Hadjar is on the brink at the moment. Plenty who could cause him a headache behind, including Gabriel Bortoleto, his old sparring partner in Formula 2 a couple of years ago. This is the driver from Paris who was third on the grid last week in Melbourne, and he remains in P10. Max Verstappen in 7th as it stands, goes up to P6. Bortoleto is the next driver to come across the line in the Audi. He's been capable of real pace so far this weekend. Yellow flag is out.
Bortoleto, I think.
And he's gone all in at the final corner. And where is Bortoleto? The yellow flag is out to ruin the laps, and there he is. We pick him up, and he was having to give it everything into the 16th and final turn, and he's gone off and recovered to the pit lane. Yellow flag out, and everyone having to back out as per the racing rules, and it means that there's no improvement for Hülkenberg, Ocon, Colapinto, Lawson, Lindblad, and Bortoleto finds himself P16.
Colapinto might yet be able to find something. Bortoleto's got out of the way, so we'll see if Gasly's still out there and clearly trying to improve as well, but might not need it. Colapinto's got a chance here to get a second Alpine through.
Yeah, Gasly has a chance. Lawson, Lindblad, they were affected by that yellow flag. Gasly gets to P5. He's loving the Alpine around this circuit. Oscar Piastri's out there again. He's in 8th. Over to Franco Colapinto then, looking for a top 10 appearance, and he misses out by 0.05 of a second. Tight margins, and he's P12.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that Bortoleto has dipped a wheel on the way in, because where he ended up, that's not like he's committed to the corner and then gone wide into the gravel. So he must have been over the right-hand curve, which is taking him down towards the pit lane.
It's a raised curb as well, so it can unsettle you as you turn the car in, getting greedy on the way in.
George Russell saying on the radio something's not right with the car. He's got major understeer. It feels like the front wing is broken. His first sector time was miles off, wasn't it?
Yeah, we saw him on a lap, but it was slow, as you said. Let's see what happened to Bortoleto then. Let's have a look on the right-hand side on the way in. Is he getting on this curb? Only a little bit, but it was maybe enough just to unsettle him with a huge amount of entry speed as well.
Went a long way, went all the way to the barrier.
Yeah, that's going to be a tasty amount of gravel rash as he's bounced his way through. And then, well, enough of contact for them to have some concerns about the gearbox there as you punch the drive shaft towards the internals.
Wasn't on an exceptional lap. He was improving. I don't think it would have been enough to get through. It was a little bit of drift of his teammates, so probably giving it a Hail Mary right at the end just to see, can I find something magic here? And the outcome is this.
Well, at this point, the drivers are not that used to going through gravel in modern Formula One, but you mentioned earlier, we first came here in 2004, so there are areas, that's the famous gravel that Lewis Hamilton got stuck in when he's back in his McLaren days.
So front wing angle checks for Russell here. I mean, if it is something as simple as that, they can put a new one on and go. But they're just checking to see if that is the source of George's issues.
If it's a bigger problem with the active aero, that could affect the battle for pole position. Mercedes looking at the front wing for George Russell, out in the second part of qualifying. The front wing for Joel Pinto, Ocon, Liam Lawson, Arvid Lindblad and Gabriel Bortoleto, who had the spin. We have our top 10 shootout sorted, understood and ready to attack the racetrack. Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Oliver Behrman and Isaac Hadjar. Of those that have joined our main contenders, the midfield bolters, if you like. This week, Pierre Gasly and Oliver Behrman. Gasly has managed to make the top 10 shootout in both qualifying sessions so far this weekend, Grand Prix and Sprint. That's the driver who, with the slowest car in the field last year, reached Q3 on 10 occasions. No longer the slowest car in the field. And Gasly, very experienced these days. Commentated on his Formula 2 campaign, his GP2 championship winning year. Driver who made his debut in 2017, using all of that experience to set the 6th fastest time. And there he is. We've been talking about him. Spoke to him last year about the responsibility when you are plumb last and it's all going wrong, about being team leader, and he said, well, we can see the data from next year's car. We know better things are coming, so it's just important to accept that we're last, show some leadership and wait for the better times to turn up.
Yeah, that's maturity of having a number of seasons in Formula One. You've got to deal with what you've got, and you're a member of the entire team.
Okay, we're a couple of moments away from Q3. It is time to start Q3 in a few minutes. We'll be setting the sharp end for the second Grand Prix of the year. Before we do that, let's get some analysis and some insight from Ruth Busker.
Fascinating session, and congratulations to Behrman and to all the cars that managed to sneak through in that session. 0.903 off the fastest in that session, which was Antonelli. Now, George Russell set his fastest lap on the first run on used tyres, complaining of contact. The mechanics there in the garage trying to get him out on track. Now, if he can fix that, he's in a great position because Mercedes have 2 new soft tyres. They've saved 2 of their 4 sets for Q3. So have Ferrari, so have McLaren. Now, interestingly, Red Bull, they've made some progress since this morning, but both Red Bull cars, Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar, who got through to Q3, only have 1 soft set left. Same as the other cars from the midfield. It's interesting to call Max Verstappen a midfielder, isn't it? That's a new one. Or going into this session, I'd expect 2 runs of 1-time lap. Guys that have 2 new sets will go new, new. Everybody else is going to go used, new. I can't wait to see if those Mercedes guys can manage to fix that rear front wing. What about you, Jake Sue?
I want to see a fair fight for pole position, Ruth, as Flavio Briatore pat on the shoulder for his Argentinian driver Franco Colapinto, who missed out in the end by a couple of hundredths of a second. So getting closer, but ultimately we know it's going to be close at the end of Q2. Certainly feels like the gaps have come down I say that with trepidation, DC,
No,
because we know what Mercedes can do in Q3.
Well, this is what we're about to find out. I think they were always going to be confident they'd be in a situation where they'd be in the final part of qualifying. So have they got a bit more they're going to deploy, or genuinely have Ferrari been able to use the experience of the sprint to make some modifications to the car? They come out of Parc Fermé, then go into Parc Fermé in this qualifying session. So, yeah, I'm enthused by the fact that they definitely seem closer. I was also encouraged to see that Flavio's doing cuddly.
I knew you were going to remark upon that. He didn't do that the first time around, did he?
No, I think maybe the reviews from Drive to Survive have come in and he's gone, maybe I need to be a little bit nicer. Not nicer, that he is nice, but I mean a bit cuddlier.
Modern management from Flavio Briatore.
Show some affection.
Who'd have thought it? Green light at the end of the pit lane. The top 10 shootout, Q3, is underway. And the drivers are heading out onto the circuit. Shiny new Pirelli tyres attached to the car. Lewis Hamilton has looked a lot happier with this type of Formula One regulation set. If you consider that he had a couple of wins in the ground effect era, but we were used to seeing him win week in, week out. Look at low speed corners there. The Ferrari is very quick, and it's Russell, stopped!
Jumping top right.
Looks okay now.
It's not. Just check boost. I've got a massive engine brake in here.
So you've got the new hazard lights on the car for this year, but the crowd in consternation. The dominant man so far, 2 wins from 2 in Formula One 2026, is static. He's not out, he's not done, but David Coulthard, Mercedes need a reset, or we are going to have a new pole sitter, a new name at the front.
Well, the upside of modern Formula One, he has the ability, if he can reset, to start that car using its own electrical energy.
He's moving, yeah, he is moving. Had a look out of the commentary box, and George Russell has got a fix from the team. Now, reported a problem.
Still not happy. Single gear, no acceleration. This might be a limp mode to get him back to the pits. Long way to go.
Yeah, long way to go when you are at this, as DC describes it, a safe mode just to crawl back. The door swings open for a moment of Formula One history. The youngest ever Grand Prix pole position holder is 21 years of age.
I cannot shift gears. Looking fast.
Well, first they'll get him home, get him back to the pits. That's going to take a couple of minutes, though. So unless they can find another reset whilst he's out on track, it may well be he needs to come back into the pits and be plugged into the umbilical and see if that refires the system.
He's not out of it, but he is going to have a compromised Q3. There is a major headache for Mercedes to solve, and Kimi Antonelli, 2 clean laps here, could rewrite the record books. Monza 2008, Sebastian Vettel, the youngest driver to ever take a Grand Prix pole. Kimi Antonelli is 19 years of age. Can he find 2 clean laps up against the Ferraris and put his name at the front of a Grand Prix field for the first time in his young Formula One career? That is what is now on offer for the boy from Bologna, who was rushed through. Skipped Formula 3, had a single year in Formula 2. Toto Wolff did not want him in a midfield team, wanted him in the Mercedes Works team. And can he now carry the team's colours to the front? The time to beat for everyone out there is a 1:32.322. If they can't, Antonelli rewrites the record books over to Ferrari. And they've looked much better this weekend compared to last. They were scrapping for sprint victory earlier on, and it's Charles Leclerc across the line. He's 0.3 of a second away. The gap, the Q3 gap, reappears. What about Lewis Hamilton? Magic around this track in the past, and he is 0.6 of a second away. The top 3 all setting that time on new Pirelli tyres. Can George Russell get out, or will it be Antonelli's day in the sun?
Yeah, well, Russell's just making his way into the pit lane. His team out there ready to pull him back into the garage. There will be enough time, assuming this is an electronic reset. The only other thing that could explain not being able to shift gears, of course, is a hydraulic issue.
Lewis Hamilton fighting his teammate. He's having lively moments all weekend long. We go through 9 and 10, he's swapping all over the place.
Yeah, we saw that earlier in this session, but it came, let's say, there. He went into the oversteer moment. That was on power. He's corrected, taken him out onto the curb, picked up some dust, kept his foot in, and there's further movement. And then when he's break down into 10, it was tidy there for Leclerc. You can see him fighting the wheel of acceleration.
That is the sound of a turbocharged engine of Pierre Gasly. 50-50 split between electrical power and the internal combustion engine in Formula One in 2026. Gasly just been swinging for the fences all the way through. He's coming up to the 16th and final corner of the racetrack, and it's used set of tyres for him, so he's going to have one punchy run later on. That's to get his eye in. That's why there's a 1.7 second gap. Lando Norris fully attacking on. This is new tyres. This is second on the grid for Norris, who came alive in the top 10 shootout yesterday and does so once more. Piastri slightly on the back foot so far. You come to Q3, you come to the front row. The Australian driver on pole position a year ago steps forward when it matters. Now to the Red Bulls. Can Hadjar get up there? 6th position, and Max Verstappen is over the line. He goes ahead of his teammate, and it's Kimi Antonelli with a 2/10 buffer. Oscar Piastri ahead of his McLaren teammate. We will get to George Russell in a moment. It's Ferrari, Red Bull, old tyres for Behrman and Gasly, and there's no time on the board for the man who's topped every single session for 7 days in Formula One. Is that about to change?
Yeah, well, the wheels came off and they've gone back on. If they felt there was not a chance of getting that car out, then they would have started their process already of trying to engage with the FIA to make the fixes. But it looks to me as if they've done a kind of reset, and it'll be one flying run for Russell.
Oscar Piastri, a reminder for you of what we've been telling you earlier in the session. This is where he began his run of pole positions, all taken last season. His 3rd year of Formula One last year. He took 6 of them whilst battling for the title. He eventually finished 13 points back in a 3-way fight that went all the way to the last lap of the last race. It wasn't certain until Lando Norris came over the line in P3. So what car does George Russell have underneath him? In pre-season testing, there were a couple of mechanical gremlins for Mercedes. They looked very, very strong in Melbourne. George Russell taking victory earlier today in the sprint race. But the main event is the Grand Prix. That's what we're setting the grid for, and there's still work going on.
Yeah, look, those are the short stands they're thinking about putting underneath that car. That isn't a good sign, but that said, the blankets have been taken off.
There's clear, fervent chatter you can hear and see.
That's the umbilical cord, the connection from the car back to all of the main frame systems.
So Russell has made Q3, so it would be 10th on the grid. Steering wheel change now as they seek to find an answer.
It seems like let's try everything, let's throw everything at it.
So the electronics on the steering wheel sometimes can have a different impression. Very expensive, those steering wheels, by the way. It's not a cheap spare to throw at the car.
No, not at all, but just actually reflecting, you could hear the engine running, and I think that was very much a case of they were trying to engage a gear whilst on the short stands.
Well, Russell will go into a one-time lap situation. He will stick to the sequence, but will he have a car underneath him to attack? We will see whether Oliver Behrman can hang on to P8. Gasly did not have a new set of tyres. He will get that, we believe, for the end.
Well, that's reassuring for both Haas and Alpine that once again, like we saw yesterday, Behrman and Gasly being in the hunt for that top 10, not looking based on that they're fighting the Red Bulls, but they're certainly fighting each other.
Lando Norris emerges from the pit lane. We're looking outside the commentary box window to see whether George Russell will take to the racetrack. Others forming up in the queue, slowly trailing out onto the circuit. Antonelli has gone, Russell has not. 4 minutes to go. There's Marcus Dudley, his race engineer. Here are the Ferraris.
That didn't look like a face of someone that felt they'd solved the problem. We're looking directly down into the Mercedes garage from our commentary box as all of the other cars go out to start their prep laps. No movement from Russell's Mercedes.
Ticking down. The team continuing to look at the side of the car as you look at Max Verstappen taking to the circuit, currently in 6th position, a second away from Antonelli's benchmark. Antonelli will know that 2/10 puts him close, but not certain. Piastri, 6 pole positions in Formula One. Lando Norris knows how to get there as well, 16 times. He's been at the front, and still Russell remains in the garage. Antonelli going early, so you can see there his personal best, a couple of front rows, including last week, and he hopes to repeat it once again.
This is his best chance. Still not seeing any movement in that Mercedes garage or Russell. Yeah, now there is. Now Russell's car is being dropped down.
So, a split moment for the 2 Mercedes. Russell ventures into the pit lane. Antonelli goes across the line. He will have 2 runs at this one. Russell will have 1. The 19-year-old versus the championship leader. A pole position on the line. And Antonelli's been put in the shade a little bit. In the last couple of days, we've run a sprint race, we've run a Grand Prix, we've had some qualifying sessions, and Antonelli is 100th back on his personal best through the first sector of the racetrack. The McLarens have stepped forward. Can Antonelli leave them all out of reach?
Well, this could be strategic, of course. He could have realised as Norris goes marginally quicker in that first sector. But remember, it's all about how you harvest, how you deploy, how you deliver the overall energy that you can for the lap. And, well, as he goes about a little bit quicker in the middle sector, not many corners now could stand between him and his first pole position in a Grand Prix.
It would be a big moment if he could achieve it. Norris is not far away. Antonelli looking for a clean lap. Norris looking for a great lap. It would have to be something sensational for McLaren or Ferrari to deny Mercedes, but Russell is on an outlap. Antonelli is hoping to seal some history now. A little correction of the steering wheel. He said he got a bit emotional sometimes when he was in the fight at the front last year. This is his 2nd season in Formula One. Kimi Antonelli to the line, and Antonelli takes it further away. Is that the lap to become the youngest ever Grand Prix pole position holder? Norris will have something to say about it. Antonelli holds the fastest time with 30 seconds to go. Norris comes across the line. He can't improve his position. He can't climb to the front row. What about Charles Leclerc? 27 pole positions in Formula One. It won't be pole position this time, but it is a front row. Lewis Hamilton tries to fight back. Across the line we go. He climbs to the front row, to the joy of the crowd. And now Gasly on new tyres, pushing on. Gasly gets ahead of the Red Bull pair with another fine lap in a weekend that's been full of them. Behrman now gets up to 7th. You've got the Red Bulls, they're pushing on. And George Russell is at the bottom of your picture. Can he do anything to displace his teammate? A car that was ailing at the start of Q3. Over the line with Isaac Hadjar. He gets ahead of Behrman. He would have expected that. The checkered flag is waving. Next up is Max Verstappen, who's into 7th. Can Russell find purple sectors when it matters? We're going to get an answer. He's got to find a 1/10 of a second, or it's history for Antonelli.
Yeah, he was a little bit wide coming out of the throttle application of 12 into 13. Has he saved enough energy to win it back on the straight?
The hairpin of 14 is ahead. Then 15 is an easy squirt on the throttle. A left-hander of 16 is the difference. Russell trying to knock Lewis Hamilton off the front row, trying to take back-to-back pole positions in Formula One, unleashing all of the power. Here comes the question. Is it history for Antonelli, or is it a comeback for George Russell across the line. He's missed out. He's missed out. And the youngest ever driver to take a Formula One Grand Prix pole is Kimi Antonelli at 19 years of age. He takes the record from Sebastian Vettel. There is the history boy. Antonelli does it. Russell climbs back to the front row. It's Hamilton in third, Leclerc in fourth, Piastri in fifth, and Norris in sixth. But the youngest Grand Prix pole sitter in F1 history.
That's a pole position, mate.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Woo. Well, he may be the youngest ever pole sitter, but he's taken it in his stride. I think I would have gone up a couple of octaves on that woo.
Wow, what a story for Antonelli, who has taken pole at 19 years of age, and he will start his 26th Grand Prix from the very front. Well, it's all normal at Mercedes. Oh, don't worry about it. It's only the youngest pole sitter in the history of the World Championship, which started in May 1950, but that's special. Toto Wolff utterly vindicated by that. Rushed Antonelli through the formula. Sprint pole last year, Grand Prix pole this.
Yeah, can't take it away from him. But what also we can't take away, steady comeback from George Russell. Didn't get that first run and had to go out, discover where the car was. We heard him complain about understeer, something not quite right with the car. Then we had that technical problem, and he'll have that banked away in his justification of second. But what a great pole position from Kimi Antonelli.
Well, he kept it very, very tight in the first two sectors and then made the difference at the end. He will be the first Italian driver on pole position since 2009. Giancarlo Fisichella lining up at the front, up against Kimi Räikkönen in the battle for the win in Belgium 2009, which went the way of Ferrari, but today belongs to Antonelli as Russell comes back. Could have been 10th, could have been a real issue for Russell. There's a lot of work there, but the battle line's redrawn for the second Grand Prix of the season. Antonelli on pole by 0.2 of a second. Then it's Hamilton, Leclerc, Piastri and Norris. Gasly out-qualifies the Red Bulls. Verstappen ahead of Hadjar, and Oliver Behrman rounds out the top 10. Kimi Antonelli has rewritten the record books. He's a 19-year-old pole position holder in Formula One. No one has ever done that before. He takes the record from Sebastian Vettel, set at Monza 2008, and becomes the first Italian on pole position in Formula One for a Grand Prix since Giancarlo Fisichella in 2009. Oscar Piastri out-qualified his teammate Lando Norris. He will start 5th on the grid tomorrow. And then we have Charles Leclerc ahead of him, Lewis Hamilton ahead of him, and the Mercedes front row lockout. You just look at the result, you're like, oh, Antonelli beat Russell, but Russell had one attempt, Antonelli had two, and Russell in the end finding a lap good enough for a 1:32.286. Pivotal for him that they got him back out. Be fascinating to hear from Russell what sort of condition that car was in, but Antonelli doing the job when it mattered. Gave himself a great foundation with that first lap and improved it on. And let's now hear from the driver who's taken his first pole position, talking to Jolyon Palmer.
Okay, well, I'm down here with Formula One's youngest ever Grand Prix pole sitter, Kimi Antonelli. Congratulations. You've just beaten Sebastian Vettel's record. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was a pretty clean session. So, you know, really happy. Of course, unfortunately, George had an issue in Q3, so would have been cool to see him with 2 sets. But yeah, I think was a really good session, clean one, no mistake, and looking forward to the race tomorrow.
How could you keep it calm? Were you aware of what was happening on George's car, or were you just so focused on yourself there?
Well, I saw he had the issue, but I just tried to keep my focus, to stay calm, and try to deliver a good lap, and which was at the end.
And a record-breaking lap. Well done, Kimi.
Thank you.
George, speaking of the issues, I mean, that was a difficult session. It looked like already in Q2 it wasn't straightforward, but you got out of there in the end. You managed to get a front row out of it.
Yeah, definitely damage limitation. I mean, in Q2, the front wing broke. We was wrapping our heads around that. Then obviously went out in Q3, stopped on track, car wasn't restarting, couldn't change gear, and then just not really happy to be standing here because you know, started for the last lap, had no battery, no tyre temp, no nothing. So, but the team have done a really great job to get us into this position. It could have been much worse. So. Very glad and well done to this guy, first pole. So.
Well, you've been formidable so far this season. Are you guys going to put on a fight, bit of a show out front for us tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously we need to take care of the guys in red as well. They were super fast off the line, so I'm sure Lewis is going to be pretty dicey at the beginning of the race. But I think for us to try and keep it clean, have a good race, try and put on a good race for the fans and see what we can do.
All right, well done, George. Which brings me nicely to Lewis. In the top 3, you love it here in China, I know. It's been a great circuit for you in the past, and that was a big lap at the end. I saw the moment you had on the first one in Q3, but you put it together when it mattered.
Yeah, it was actually a really tough qualifying, a bit harder this one with the wind. It's so gusty today, so putting the laps together was challenging, and Charles putting in great laps. These guys were putting in great laps, so I'm really, really happy with to be up here and grateful to be up here with these guys. They've been rapid so far this season, but we did some good work. The engineers did some great work over the break, and we managed to get a little bit closer to these guys. So that's a real positive. We take that forwards.
And the gap was really coming down as well, as you said. Have you got some powder still dry for the race tomorrow for a fight?
It's still going to be a challenge, but I'm sure we'll have some fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have a lot of fun. Learn a lot in the sprint race, so let's hope tomorrow is not as windy as this, and our goal is to try and break the gap between these guys somehow.
All right, well done, Lewis, and thank you, everybody. Good luck for the race tomorrow.
Jolyon Palmer in conversation with fan favourite Lewis Hamilton, championship leader George Russell, and the man who's just got a hug from Dad, Kimi Antonelli, Formula One's youngest ever Grand Prix pole position holder. He will line up at the head of his 26th Grand Prix, 19 years of age, and everyone behind him. 19 years and 202 days. He takes the record from 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel, who loves his place in the Formula One history books, but always appreciates a great driver. That is what we have seen on track, and Antonelli has had some serious work to do, hasn't he? Dramatic times with the crash a week ago, issues earlier on with the tricky getaway, but when he lines up for the start in the second Grand Prix of 2026, it's his. He's 8 meters ahead of his teammate and will look up to the lights with an unobstructed view. A fine way to handle the pressure. He mentioned in Singapore last year, where he had a shot at pole, Russell took it that day, that the emotion got to him. Not today. A cool head and a moment to savor. Mercedes taking pole position for both Grand Prix, for the sprint, and the front wing working for both drivers in the end. Kimi Antonelli knowing he had a little bit of assistance with the issues for his teammate, but you've got to take that moment when it comes your way, and that is a moment of Formula One history. Kimi Antonelli opens his account, now 1 sprint pole and 1 Grand Prix pole. At the magnificent facility at Shanghai International, let's confirm your qualifying grid. Kimi Antonelli, 19 years of age and a Grand Prix pole position holder. George Russell locking out the front row. Only got 1 run in Q3, it was enough for the front row. Lewis Hamilton out qualifying Charles Leclerc. He only did that 5 times in the entirety of last season. And then you've got Oscar Piastri ahead of Lando Norris. Pierre Gasly, great efforts, but an Alpine, the 10th fastest car last year, 7th ahead of the Red Bulls. Verstappen, then Hadjar, and Behrman again in Q3. Strong from him. Hulkenberg was ahead of Franco Colapinto and Esteban Ocon. Lawson and Lindblad had their laps interrupted by the yellow flag caused by the spin for Gabriel Bortoleto, P16 tomorrow. Carlos Sainz out-qualified teammate Alexander Albon, and then it was Fernando Alonso. Valtteri Bottas got a Cadillac ahead of an Aston. Back row of the grid is Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez. Well, my thanks to David Coulthard, Jolyn Palmer, you for watching, and Mercedes for putting on an unexpected battle. The pack has got closer, but there's a new name at the front in Formula One qualifying. At 19 years of age, congratulations, Andrea Kimi Antonelli.
这么快就剪出来了，这个 slow。明天正赛再见。Give me pole position, congratulations. 天啊，哔哩哔哩加粉0，3000多人看，每一个粉丝。